One of the things that I love as a high performance coach to executives and entrepreneurs is this: the ability to defy logic in certain areas. In this season, it's been amazing how many times I've had the privilege, or I call it, I get to coach a lot of different executives and entrepreneurs who are in one transition or the other. Either they're getting promoted to a new role, either they've just gone through a situation and they're trying to reinvent themselves, either things have happened, something with a sudden change, or sometimes a progressive change has happened and they are moving to the next level. And when I start working with them, I am solely reminded of my own transitions and what I go through. Fortunately, I've had the opportunity to work with them in the area of personal impact. And today, I want to defy logic. One thing that I teach them, and it's a secret of my class, but I'm going to share it with you, is the fact that I know we hear the adage, and people say it a lot about executive presence. They say, fake it till you make it. How about this? Let me share with you from my experience, from the experience of people I've coached and I've helped. One of the key things I teach them is, don't fake it till you make it. You know why? Because you are it, or you are going to be it. How does that simply work? It means that whenever you are thrust into a role, or you are thrown into what we call a deep dive, or suddenly you find yourself in a transition, this is not a time to fake anything. You are already in it. So your personal impact has to reflect who you are or who you're going to be. So let me give you a few analogies and you would understand. A lot of us here are either, in, relationships, married, and I want to give the traditional examples, or, we are parents. The roles that we have, the very moment you become a dad or you become a mom, that first day of delivering your child, your whole stratosphere changes, your mind. You know that I'm no longer an individual. I'm responsible for a life. Nobody has to tell you. You are suddenly in that space. If you naturally wanted to be a mom, or you prepared for it to be a parent, you actually went through the process before it happened that day. The very moment you transition from singlehood to marriage, you become a married woman or a married man. The very moment you move from a singlehood to have a partner in a relationship, you became a single woman or you became a married person or have a partner. So naturally, your role has changed. You are it. You don't have to fake it. So what you do is you work on personal impact skills. That is your appearance, your behavior, your communication, your digital footprint, your emotive experiences, your fundamentals, your A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z, which is what I teach in my personal impact class, actually has to be a person of that role. So you don't have to fake anything. So I always remind people, there are two things. I talk about it in confidence, saying that there's a thin line between what we call confidence and arrogance. When you have a responsibility, naturally your authority comes out. When you take power, naturally your arrogance comes out. It's a natural thing. It's what we call, human psychology. This is who we are. So when you take up a particular role or responsibility, you are promoted. You are an entrepreneur. You get a certain kind of contract or a job. You have transitioned. For example, for me, I've been through many transitions, business failure, where I had to totally reinvent who I was. I knew that I had become a business owner or an entrepreneur who had failed. So I'm starting from scratch. Knowing that I was it was the first start to becoming the person I needed to become as a person of personal impact. When I became a widow, I wasn't faking it till I made it. I became a widow, so I was it. I was now a single mother with child, and I had to basically start from there. So remember that in a lot of situations that we are thrust into in transitions, like what we are going through now in this season, where change has come in the whole world, where we have to move literally from traditional to technology, to move our lives, to move our transition, to reinvent ourselves in our spaces. It's not about faking it till we make it. We are it. So your personal impact must speak to that. Now, what am I saying? Authority attracts. Power can attract or reject, depending on the authority you place in it. So as soon as you identify the role that you are going to become, you begin to take the steps. Appear as that person. Don't appear faking that person. Appear as that person. Behave as that person. Communicate as that person. Leave digital footprints as that person. Have emotive engagements as that person. Your fundamentals should be that person. Your gravitas should be that person. So everything about you is that person. And that person is not fake. That person is you. And you know what happens? The very moment you move from faking to being, what happens is that habit now goes all the way and accelerates to what we call a character. You remember Franklin Covey. When you talk about Stephen Covey, you talk about the Covey family. They take you from that adage of how you sow habits, the 7 habits, remember? And you get into character mode. Well, when you move from faking to being, you accelerate that process. Every step is easy because habitually, daily, consistently, that is who you are. You wake up as someone who's just come out of transition. You wake up as a new boss of an organization. You wake up as a new mother. You wake up as a new father. You wake up having lost someone and starting over as a single person. You wake up having become an entrepreneur who has failed and is starting over. You wake up having become this executive. What I rather want you to learn is the fact that what you are eyeing, and that's very important to me in this message, what you are looking at becoming, start being today. Let me say it again. What you are looking at becoming, start being today. That way, there's no faking in your life. So even though I hear it, I know it's an adage, and I know in certain spaces, it must of necessity be used. But what I say is, when you are thrown into the deep end, when you are suddenly changing your life, you are it. You don't have to fake it till you make it. Now, when you are in a position where you are looking at becoming, start being it. You don't have to fake it. Redefining yourself is being in a state of who you are becoming. Let me say it again. Redefining yourself is being in the state of who you are becoming. It could be a sudden change. It could be a process change. Either way, it takes you to who you are becoming. And that is what your personal impact must communicate. So I don't know who this message is for, but I know that if you are in a state of transition right now and you are very confused about where do I start from, or even you are very clear of where do I start from, there's one thing you need to do. You need to make personal impact. You need to use the soft skills of how you look, how you act, how you communicate, how you speak, how you talk, how you engage. You're going to need every single soft skill. And with those soft skills, that is what makes you a person of personal impact. You must speak it. You must, as a matter of fact, be able to have the substance to back it. And that substance only comes from being who you are becoming. Reinvention is actually a beginning and not an end. Transition is actually a starting position and never an end. Tragedy is the beginning of transition. Pain is the beginning of transition. Sudden change is the beginning of a transition. Listen, everything that may change in our lives is positional. But the key thing is when you buy into that concept of a transition, you take every single step. So let me remind you again, you don't need to fake it till you make it. Because either you are it or you are becoming it. And whatever you are, it will be a habit which will become a character. And as you go through that journey, what you need is to appear it, behave it, communicate it, digitally footprint it, give it an emotive engagement, know your fundamentals, be able to express gravitas and keep going. And you would get through the A, B, C, D to Z, or what we call Z of this role. You have the power inside of you to reinvent yourself. What I'm sharing is from experience. Being in the corporate world, being around entrepreneurs, executives for many years, 2 decades plus and counting. I have learned, I have coached, and I have taught. And one of the things that I know is that fake it till you make it gives you a limited experience. Being it and living your personal impact through it gives you an adventurous experience. Which one will you choose? I dare you to defy logic. Much love. Mwah.